Hi, my name is Sarah Paul, and during this module I will be describing how to do in-course corrections with a given scenario specific to the module I am creating. To start with, I will be describing a module that will work with 9th grade English students, and my target audience that I would be talking to is my divisional, my boss, to let him know how I would revise my course through evaluations. I will be teaching them the rhetorical appeals, the ethos, pathos, and logos, which are persuasion techniques. And my objective is that students will need to understand the appeals in order to analyze the use of the appeals and how Brutus and Antony persuade their crowds with the appeals in Julius Caesar. Moving on, my scenario is that I have 2 students in my class who I noticed are not really participating in group work or doing their homework to their best potential. And when I went halfway through the module, I noticed that they weren't really doing much. So, and then I also had some students come to me about how they weren't participating in groups, so I figured I needed to fix this. So I started evaluations. I wanted to discuss a little bit about evaluations before I went on because I think that analysis should occur as the course moves on, and that it should be an ongoing process. I think that problems need to be dealt with in a timely manner because else they can be magnified. And because of this, I wanted my students to make sure they understood ethos, pathos, and logos right now before we went on to Julius Caesar, where they would have to analyze the speeches further. So I wanted to stop any confusion before it went on. So I looked into Chickering and Gameson's 7 principles and decided that I could try to see where I was going wrong in my course and why they weren't getting the help they needed, because Lai and Savage 2013 discussed how the 7 principles can be used to highlight the importance of interaction and collaborating in the learning experience. So I wanted to dig a little deeper into that. So the first principle is good teaching encourages contact between students and faculty. The second principle is that good teaching develops reciprocity and cooperation among students. The third principle is that good teaching encourages active learning. And good teaching gives prompt feedback. Good teaching emphasizes time on task. Good teaching communicates high expectations. And lastly, good teaching respects diverse talents and ways of learning. So, where to start with my scenario and my 2 students who are struggling? I decided that I needed to have a conversation with these students and go straight to the source. So I came up with a few questions to ask them. Number 1, what do you feel like you are struggling with in this course? Number 2, is there some way I could help you succeed? Do you think that you are able to communicate with me when you have issues? Number 4, is there a better way you think I could help communicate with my students? Number 5, would this communication help your homework completion? Number 6, how do you currently feel about your participation in group work? And number 7, how could I help you become more comfortable in your group and participate more? So, after the interviews, I got some good feedback. Scale in 2015 discusses how we could build relationships with our students and get good feedback by opening the lines of communication. And I feel like talking with students and asking them these questions was a great step in the right direction. The feedback that they said was that they were confused with homework and they were struggling because they were confused and they needed more help, so they would like more communication outside of class. And they said they wanted to participate in groups more, but they were confused, so they didn't want to do this because they were kind of afraid and they wish they had more time to brainstorm with their group so they wouldn't feel uncomfortable. So I decided I should probably have another conversation. The next one should be with all the students in my class to see how they felt about group work. So I came up with some questions to ask them. How do you feel like group work has been going? How can we improve group work so students get the most out of it? And number 3, how could each student be held accountable in group work? So once again, I got a lot of great feedback from these students. They said that members need to be held accountable, that we need more time brainstorming together, and that maybe we could use group chats and Google documents to help this. So I took all that into consideration and I started to think of some corrections. And there were 3 areas where I wanted to revise: communication, homework, and group work. To start with communication, I wanted to implement coffee chat discussion boards because I thought that this would really help improve give them another chance to talk if they had questions outside of class. Then I wanted to create high-low partners where they would have to go to their partner beforehand if they had a question to ask them if they knew the answer before they came to me, and then come to me as a last resort. And then I thought that I could implement office hours. From 7:30 to 8 every night, they could come on and talk to me, and I could be there for them. The next thing I wanted to improve was homework and in-class participation. So I felt like I needed to give more options to students to communicate with each other, because this would go with Chickering and Gameson's principle number 2 and number 4. I figured that by adding more online discussions, this would help. Socratic seminars about ethos, pathos, logos would help. Lai and Savage, 2013, discuss how discussions help and are beneficial because they provide further opportunities for cooperation and discussion, and they don't have to happen spontaneously with in-class support. They also go on to say how they emphasize that discussions are beneficial because students are able to go more in depth with their conversations and learn from one another by challenging their views, and I definitely think online discussions and fishbowls help with that. I figured that if I have one at the beginning of the unit where students could dissect what ethos and pathos and logos are, that they could get into a great conversation, and maybe I could throw up some advertisements on the board to help them understand what is ethos, what is pathos, what is logos, and listen to their peers describe each one with an advertisement or a scenario and really understand, because their peers explain it to them and not just me. I really, really think they could extend the conversation through online discussions, in a discussion board forum like Schoology.com, and then in class as well. The last thing I wanted to improve was group work. So I said, I need a more welcoming atmosphere. I want to include Wiki and Google Docs a little bit as well. So Lambert, Carter, and Lightbody 2014 discuss how peer evaluations might help show what groups are having issues, but it won't help figure out how to get more contribution from members. So I researched long and hard, and my school is one-to-one, so I wanted to include some, technology. And Luthi 2010 discusses how discussion and group work is important, and Bird and Luthi 2010 also state how groups should know their purpose, create divisions of labor, and lay that foundation for group work. So I wanted to make sure students were, talking to each other and they knew the expectations were clear. They also go on to discuss how you could use wikis and Google Documents to help group work, because if you assign a task to students, everything will be documented in these Google Docs and in these wikis, and all the uncertainty of who did what will be taken out because the teacher could see every single log. And this would definitely help develop principle number 2 in Chickering and Gameson's 7 principles, because it would be cooperation among students. It would also be principle 5, which is emphasizing time on task, because it would log everything that the students did. And it would also be communicating high expectations, because everybody in the group would need to work, which is principle 6, as well as respecting diverse talents, because each student would be given a task depending on what they needed to work on for that day. So, in conclusion, I think that fostering communication with students is important. Next, I think that students need help with some homework sometimes, so including more options to get help with them with the homework that would help them a ton, like those chat rooms and coffee chats. I also think that teaching them how to work in groups and together is very beneficial. Using Chickering and Gameson's 7 principles to guide course corrections is important, because it helps foster that interaction as well as make sure that problems do not arise. I think I will definitely see improvements for the 2 students who have been struggling with homework and group work as a result of these corrections, and I can't wait to put them in place. I definitely think this module has been a fun one, and it's helped me see what could be done in class to improve the module in the course. Here are some of the references I used to get some expert opinion. So that is the end of my presentation, and I hope you have enjoyed learning about my module. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.